Welcome, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the AD Office Hours. This is a weekly um, session that we hold to answer kind of deep dive into your technical questions around everything ADE. My name is Ron Baumert. I lead our customer success team here at LandingAI, and I'm joined by a few folks today. We have Ava Zia, who's in our growth engineering / developer relations team. Seshi Reddy, who's our technical support engineer. Emily Cooksey is actually not here today, but she runs our builder program. And then also our moderator and host today, or our moderator today to assist is Bianca Ragsdale, who's um, in charge of our community and documentation. So with that, let me just kind of maybe set some context. So, everything's kind of A to E. So we do have another product called Landing Lens. And so if you have questions around Landing Lens, we're happy to address those outside of the session. You can send an email to support@landing.ai. There might be some questions that come up that might require some deeper conversation than we can have here on this call. And so, depending on what the issue is, we might need to move it outside the session and have a follow-up. We do have, this is a webinar format, so we do have a Q&A function. So feel free to drop any questions in the chat if you'd like to have them answered. You can also, if you're so inclined, you can come off mute and answer or ask your questions then. And we do have some people who have submitted questions in advance, and so the idea is that we would the people who are on the call will handle those questions first, and then we'll go to the people on the call for any questions if they didn't submit in advance. So any questions they have, and then we'll just finish it with any other open questions. So with that, I do also want to call out, so as we're going through this, there's a bunch of resources that are available for your education, knowledge, and use of ADE. So we have our, Doc Center, so docs.landing.ai, great solution for, or a great place to go for pretty much everything related to ADE from simple to complex. We have our GitHub, where you've got sample code, our Python libraries, helper scripts, a bunch of things that would make it, that would help you develop on ADE. And then we have YouTube for videos that we post that dive deep into particular verticals. We have overview videos, so a bunch of resources and content there on YouTube. And then we also have a Discord channel for kind of some community answers and other information that's there. So with that, what I usually do is I start with just kind of a what's new with ADE, and just we are developing at a really rapid pace. I do encourage everyone, we do have a change log that's part of our documentation center. So docs.landing.ai/ADE-changelog. And that's where you'll find all the updated information the moment it is available to the public. So, like I said, we're developing pretty rapidly. And so just last week, we released some, interesting updates to our parse API. And that's specifically, we are able to grab and extract out table cell information. So basically, as you're parsing the tables, we now can return the row and column positions so that for each cell, so that you can actually understand where specifically in that table the information is coming from. This allows the data that's parsed back to allows you to map back the data that has been parsed to specific cell locations and regional table. Again, it's all part of our overall strategy to make sure that there's traceability and accountability for the data that you're receiving, so you know that it's the correct and factual data. We also did make some improvements to our credit program or to our subscription programs, and specifically as you upgrade, this is not for downgrades, but for upgrades, you can actually roll over your unused credits to your new subscription plan. So more information you can find in our documentation, but that's good news for folks who are using our solution and want to want to have the credits that they've already paid for available as a continued usage. And just some other things I'll highlight that we've released, before the Christmas break or the holiday break. So there is a new metadata field that we put into our APIs that allow a person to select the specific models that they want to use, and it will actually it can fall back to a specific model based on which version you want to develop against. There's now a new status code, a page parse jobs 206, which basically returns saying it was successful but not completely. So if you've got a 50-page document and 3 pages fail, you'll get a 206, and obviously get those the successful pages back, but the remaining pages obviously won't be returned. And then we did release a little while ago some spreadsheet capability. So we do handle a variety of document types, PDFs and Word documents and PowerPoints, et cetera. Those are fairly structured documents as well, but we now support Excel documents as well. So, and we improved that capability a couple of releases ago. I won't go through all the rest of the changes. Again, these are in our change log, but just rest assured that we're moving quickly and developing very quickly our solution. Okay. Oops. So with that, I will go ahead and open it up to questions. Bianca, if you can maybe help me understand or read out some of the questions that are available.
So one of the questions we received was, how does the OCR work?
Great question. So, the OCR is, I guess we should take a step back and say, what is OCR? So OCR, as optical character recognition, it's really it is a character first view of a text. And so it's looking at text, it's looking at characters, looking at words, and basically it's just looking at things. There's no context as far as what it's seeing. So it just sees the words, and and frankly, it's been around for a while, and it does it well. But it's just, again, it's a bag of words that it just basically sees and extracts. The difference with the Agentic Document Extraction solution, or our ADE, is that we're actually taking a vision first approach to text. So LandingAI started out as a visual AI company, and we've taken that extensive knowledge and applied it to our ADE product. And so the thing about ADE is that we actually look at a document and we see structure, and we see images, we see headers, we see marginalia, we see any number of different things, tables and figures. So we see those things first, and then we say, okay, so now that I understand what those sections are, we call them chunks. Then we start actually extracting those out, extract the text out. So we always give context to the things that are being parsed and extracted. So that's the main difference. So OCR just looks at a characters, bunch of words, and extracts that out and makes that available. Our approach is to look at the structure of the document, and then so it could be text that's rounded, it could be handwritten documents, any number of different things, and we take that structure and give you great results on the other side.
So on that note, we also released Andrew Ng's course on OCR and agentic document extraction. I think that would be a very good start, where you could actually dive deep into the basics and appreciate the difference between the traditional OCR and the agentic document extraction.
That's a great call out, Seshu. Yeah, for those who are so inclined and want to dig deeper, as Seshu mentioned, we just released a course, or Andrew Ng just released, deep learning just released a course that that basically said, here are, or it goes through OCR specifically and different solutions there. Bianca, maybe you can post the link to that course in the chat for people who might want to take advantage of that.
And yes, this course is definitely worth the 3 hours. You would learn a lot, and I would say by the end of this course, you would definitely feel that you're an expert.
Yeah,
Awesome.
especially if you are interested in understanding how OCR works. And starting at the start of the course, it actually introduces us how OCR works and the historical involvement of this technology, leading to how to use, like how we came up with ADE and how to use ADE. So if you're interested in OCR, definitely check out the course because it starts with introduction of like the basics of OCR.
That's excellent. Thank you, Ava. Yeah, and then Ava posted the link to the course in our chat, so feel free to take a look at that. Okay, Bianca, what is the next question we have?
Sure. So the next question is, well, it's kind of more of a statement, the way it was framed, but it is agentic attribute extraction from product images. So I think they're trying to understand how ADE can get, extract data or understand images that are possibly embedded in documents.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, and I guess just to clarify, because I think it's important, as I kind of referred to, we've been around for a while. We do have a product called Landing Lens, which does look at images and is able to extract out defects and other things there. So I'm going to assume that the question is not related, since this is an ADE course, I'm going to assume it's not related to Landing Lens, and I'll answer it in the context of ADE. So yeah, I mean, I guess back to the um, the comments around OCR, with obviously any sort of product images, they could be, barcodes, they could be um, any sort of, text that's wrapping around an image. I mean, there could be nutrition labels, there could be product SKUs. I mean, there could be a number of different things that would be attached, descriptions that could be attached to a product image. And so, OCR is going to struggle with that because it's basically blind to that object, and it's looking for text, and it won't see text in the way that um, it's used to reading it from left to right, top to bottom. So as I mentioned before, ADE is different in that we take a visual approach. So we look at the object first and then extract out different pieces um, of whatever we saw, and then we chunk that up. And so, yeah, you'll see the product image, and we'll provide a description of that product, and then any sort of text or attributes that are associated with that image will be extracted as well, and available in the Markdown, and more specifically the JSON. So uh, the JSON results will then keep the structure and allow you to put that into other systems. So if you're trying to look at other information, that will be there. So, just like, so let's just say that we have a retail catalog that has, or catalog page that has 10 different items. A standard scraper would fail against that. And because it doesn't know, which price belongs to which item. So because we are looking at objects, and because we have, trained our models around the spatial differences of different objects and their attributes, we can extract out the price, the SKU, and anything that's specific to that particular image or object, versus OCR would struggle with that.
So I think like I would highly recommend checking out our documentation because adding to what Ron said, so Ron gave like a very comprehensive explanation of like the chunks. Can you see the screen? Yep. And I would, if you are interested in understanding more about how the chunks works, actually go check out our documentation and click the chunk types, and you can check out, especially with ADE, as Ron said, it works really well with tables, right? Especially if we have a table with like very complicated layout, merged cells, you see, and with no vertical lines or horizontal lines to, you know, specify the cells, then if you try OCR, as shown also in our ADE course, as we just recommended, OCR is really gonna struggle because it just read each one, like each cell one by one. It doesn't understand which, cell belong to which row, which column, So that's like if you have a very complicated table, that's where um like AD is gonna give you the advantage, right? Because it's gonna now with DBT2, it's actually gonna give you cell level information and grounding as well, where the cell is and which content is in there. And also, as Ron said, with the figure, right? If you want to really extract information with figures, it's actually going to give you a description of the figure and the chart. And if you look at OCR and if you do our AD course, and as demonstrated in the course, actually the OCR totally ignore a figure because it's just not a character, right? Like OCR stands for character optical recognition. So it's not a character. So it's not able to read the figure at all. So definitely check out our documentation and check out like the figure, logos, barcode. Now we also support like if you have ID, if you have scan code, that's where AD really do well in. Yeah, just adding to that, to what Ron said.
This person said that they're interested to learn the latest features of agentic document extraction.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we did cover that beginning, so I'm not sure if that person joined a little bit late, but welcome. Um, yeah, so we do have a change log that will give you up-to-date information on everything that's being released. So that's available on our documentation center, and just it's right in the key navigation. We'll put that in the chat as well. But we are developing in a rapid pace, and there's a lot of things that we're doing. So we've just recently we updated our parse API. This was in January 6th, where we have improved table and spreadsheet parsing, so you can actually get data on where specifically that row, column, and cell are. So again, back to our ability to be accurate and reference back to factual data. You can actually, what we call visual grounding, you can actually see and get coordinates on where specifically data is coming from. So again, you're able to always verify the information that you're seeing in a table or a spreadsheet. We did update some of our subscription plans so that when you do upgrade, and upgrade specifically, there is the ability to roll your credits over. So that's good value for folks who are who are using ADE and want to continue to leverage the credits that they've already purchased, but want to take advantage of some additional plans where you might get better exchange rates, if you will, for dollars to credits. So those are some things that just recently released. Right before the holidays, we released some additional capabilities around our parse API. And specifically, we let you know if there's been a partial success of a document. So if you have a 50-page document and 47 of them are processed successfully and 3 are not for whatever reason, we'll let you know the job will complete, but we'll also give you a status code of 206, and we'll let you know which pages failed and why. So that's something that's very helpful as you're working with larger document sets. We also did have a ability we added a metadata field where you can fall back to a particular model version. So if you find that your schema is too complex, the API might autofill back to a more stable model. And so we can tell you when this happens so you can, debug your schema and make sure that everything's working correctly. And then, again, a bunch of other stuff, but we did release a new API. So we have a parse and extract API that were kind of our foundation. We did release for preview in December 4th a split API, which basically allows you to take a large document, let's say it's a loan packet, and automatically classify it into different types of documents. So bank statements, tax returns, ID copies, before you actually start working on extraction. So that's actually a great capability that we just released. So a bunch of other things. I'll refer you to the change log as I've referred to, but we're innovating very rapidly in this very dynamic space.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that. The next question that we had submitted was to build production grade document processing pipelines.
I'm not sure if the users or the person who submitted that question is on, but that's I would love to drill into a little bit as far as what that means. But in absence of any other context, there's a whole notion of going from, hey, I'm just testing this out and seeing if it works and kind of what the results are, to moving to, or even using our playground, where you can actually have an interface to interact with our APIs, to moving to a more of an enterprise scale. So I think there's a couple things that I would highlight, and then would love the team to chime in. So we do have a API called a parse jobs API, and basically that allows you to submit documents or parse documents up to, I think it's 5,000 or 6,000 pages long, and then it queues them, it gives you a job ID, and then processes them. So you're able to just throw a whole bunch of things into the parse jobs API, and then it will return the results as needed. So if you don't have a immediate need for that information back, this is a great way, and it costs it's less expensive to parse with the parse jobs API. We do have a Python SDK or developer kit where you can, or Python library, I should say, where you can actually, there's a bunch of great routines and things that are there for to aid in your development against our solution, versus using the API, which is robust in itself, but you'd obviously have to put in things like read-child logic and et cetera. So our Python library already automatically handles like rate limiting and some other stuff. So definitely would recommend using and coding against our Python library as you're looking to build a enterprise grade pipeline. And then what we see with a lot of customers is they want to, and they're working in enterprise, many of their documents, especially financial services, healthcare, et cetera, are very they need to be handled in a very secure and private way for obvious reasons. And so, we see a lot of customers who are moving to enterprise plan actually leverage what we call our ZDR, or zero data retention option. And this allows, basically, we process the document in memory, and then once the document's processed, it's deleted entirely. So there's no retention of that document or any memory of what that looks like. So anyway, those are some things that I would think about as you're thinking about enterprise grade. Love the teams. Ava or Seshu, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think when we want enterprise grade, I think the main thing a user would want to consider is to look for the written statuses, really, right? So, in a perfect world, you should always be looking for written statuses. Let's say your network is down or something, you would know immediately, get a notification or something and then retry and stuff. So for an enterprise grade pipeline, looking for written statuses is one important thing we need to consider. Other than that, of course, everything else is trying to make it robust, scale. Those are the general ops stuff that any enterprise should take care of it. When it comes to Agentic Doc, depending on your needs, you might actually want to consider how you call into the APIs, because there's something called rate limiting. And that's not just us, because it's it's extraction and it takes some time. You would want to plan, parallelize your calls and stuff. So really, all that adds up to getting it to an enterprise grade solution.
Yeah, I think that's a very comprehensive answer. I just want to add to, if you are interested in a very systematic approach of like what I can do um for my production, again, I would highly recommend follow the course, because our new course, it actually in the first half, we introduces the basics of OCR and the historical technical involvement that led to the necessity of ADE. And then we introduce um, in lesson 4, we introduce the basics of ADE and some recipes of how you can use ADE in different scenarios, different verticals, like Ron said in finance, how to process financial documents or invoices. And then we um, then progress to how to build a RAG pipeline. Say, if you want to feed your documents, if you want to get the chunks, like the chunks, the image chunks we were talking about, like say if you want to extract the image chunks from your documents, feed it into a RAG, build a search bot, right? Say if you are a financial advisory company, you have a bunch of financial documents, you need to get some images, illustrations out, and build a search bot based on the, you know, pile of data you have, right? This is what like a demo you can turn to. And then on top of that, you can then proceed to use ADE on AWS, right? So this is actually the course follows like basics, covered this basics, proceed to a like production pipeline, and then go to the cloud. So I would say the course is like very comprehensive, cover all of the production um, uh, pipelines. But if you're already like familiar with it, you just want more reference, check out our AD helper scripts. This is our repo for all the pipelines we've developed for our customers, and you can find different use scenarios, right? If say you are dealing with food labels, what kind of like workflow you would use? If you're working with AWS Lambda, what you would and it's like you can just copy paste and modify the codes, because these are ready to use codes. And if you're dealing with the utility bills, yeah. So I would say these two, the course and also the GitHub repo would be two perfect starting point and for your building process. Yeah.
That's excellent. Thank you, Ava, for that additional context, and Seshu, thank you as well. Okay, Bianca, what is our next question?
Yeah, so we have one more question that was submitted in advance. Sorry, this one's also pretty broad, but it is practical uses of function in the Nepalese context in different sectors like health, hydropower, finance, and education. And I'm just going to copy that into the chat just so you guys can visually look at it to digest it, because there's a lot going on with this question.
Sure. So, if the person who asked that question's on and you want to raise your hand, we'd love to get some more context. But in absence of that, I will do my best, and of course, team chime in. So I think I understand, like, how do you work with these different health, hydro, finance, education, using, Nepalese language and everything there. So obviously, I'm from the United States, so I don't understand Nepalese. but we do handle multilingual documents very, very well. And the things that we solve for and what ADE really thrives at and does really well, like handwritten forms, poor scan quality documents, complex technical drawings, everything that kind of goes along with and document types as well as the more kind of structured documents like PDFs with tables and charts, and same thing, PowerPoints, et cetera. So, there's kind of a mix of documents that we handle really well. And so, within healthcare, obviously there's a bunch of patient records that need to be digitized, and how do you make that into or bring that into computer systems. So, our vision model for using ADE, we can look at checkboxes. We can look at things that people are filling out forms. Have you ever been a smoker? Again, this is all in the native language, and we can then take that and make sure that's available in our JSON, so you can add that to your databases or other systems. Hydropower. There's assuming that a bunch of engineering and infrastructure types of documents. We read those extremely well. We can work with very large document sizes, and CAD drawings actually work really, really well in PDF and other formats. Environmental impact reports, technical schematic, any number of different things, different paper sizes. So all those work really well from a hydro power and kind of engineering perspective. Finance is one of our, along with healthcare, is one of our, key verticals for ADE. So, everything around Know Your Customer, which is a bunch of different documents. So it's ID cards, it's W-2s, it's tax forms. It's a bunch of things that are kind of put together into a packet, and all that needs to be processed and digitized and made and put structure and into chaos. So we can do several things with that. We can use our split API to say, hey, well, I just want to look at the W-2s. I want to look at whatever the Napoli's form or tax forms would be. So you can split those out to look at those specifically, bank statements, et cetera, or similar. So those are just some examples. So I guess in summary, and then open up to the team, is we're language agnostic. And so we handle numerous languages. And so it's really around the structure of the documents. And we, as I've mentioned a few times, we look at the document structure and the document chunks first, and then we do the interpretation of that text that's associated with that. And so that's where we really shine regardless of language. Anything else you'd add, team?
Yep. Just thanks, Ron. Just add to that. Actually, we have several blog posts. If you go to our website, landing.ai, and if you click resources under blogs, you will find a lot of useful information also about how to build, right? And introducing our features. So we actually have several good blog posts about different languages, specifically this one. It actually uses Chinese as an example, but just as Ron mentioned, we're language agnostic. So I would say the best way is go to our playground va.landing.ai, just upload a document in your own language and check it out yourself. And if you do want to see like a demo, there is also a blog post about handwritten text, which shows multiple languages like English, Spanish, French, German. So check this out as well, because you will also see a lot of different languages. This one has English and Chinese, and we also have like math symbols, and this one is in German. Yeah. Also, we have some French ones, Spanish ones. Yeah. So USAID does pretty well on all of them. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you, Ava, and thank you, Bianca, for posting that blog entry. Well, that covers our questions for today. I want to thank everyone who submitted questions, and we're always available for future. If you have any additional questions as you're working through the ADE solution, I will highlight a couple things just in closing. One is we are having a webinar that's coming up on Wednesday, January 21st, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And it's called From Zero to Automation in 15 Minutes. So basically using ADE and building a document process automation platform using ADE. So we're partnering with TCG Process to host that webinar. So please feel free to check out our website and register for that. And also just upcoming schedule. So again, we do this weekly. So our next office hours is January 22nd, same time. And if you need to reach us, over on the right-hand side are all the places that you can reach us. So again, the docs, LandingAI, we're on Discord, we're on GitHub, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and of course, if you just want to use the traditional email, we're at support@landing.ai. Thank you for the team's participation today, and everyone have a great rest of the day or week.